All right, folks, to start this pitch up, we're just asking people to give a 5-minute pitch on who they are, what they do and how they can assist you. We are keeping them to time because otherwise people will chat a bit. If we can ask you if you have any questions, just keep them until the end and we'll speed through. These are not by any means all the providers in the ACT who can provide support to you to assist you in getting what you need in this space, but they are some of the folks who would like to share with you how they do their business and how they can assist you. So we will be keeping you to time. Marco, 5 minutes, and Sky, who is somewhere in the room, will be waving at you at 4 minutes and 30 seconds so you know you can wrap up. So if you have some questions, write them down and we'll get started. Thanks, Marco.
Thanks very much. Marco Schwerup's my name. I'm CEO with Focus ACT. I've got one of my colleagues in the room, Mark Marlaw, who's just joined our team up the back there. If you can just stand up quickly, Mark. So Mark, if you're a provider or a coordination of support, Mark will probably make contact with you if he hasn't already to catch up with you and give you some more deeper detail about what we do and how we can provide support to people you're supporting. And if you are someone who's interested in accessing SIL down the track, you're also welcome to approach Mark directly and just talk about SIL with Mark. So we currently provide dietetics from an allied health point of view and supported independent living. We support people in single-person situations, right through, majority is 2 people or 3 people living together, and we have a couple of sort of legacy houses from Disabilities ACT with a 4-person. Otherwise, that's the maximum. We prefer around 3 people to 2 people, or what someone actually feels comfortable to live in terms of configurations. Our main thing to sort of put to you today is that we have a vacancy management panel that meets every 2 weeks, and that's a very transparent process we go through. What we're wanting to do is understand the support needs of an individual and see how they match up with the support that our workforce is able to provide. If somebody's support needs kind of goes outside of what we're built to provide, then we assist those individuals to access other organisations in terms of if they're looking for SIL. And we're very quick in terms of giving a turnaround response of in-writing response of whether it's a plain, look, we don't think we're the right service, or we would like to get some more information off you so that we can further examine your situation. The idea is that once we know that we can actually support you, then we start to look at what is the type of home you want, who do you think you would like to live with if you know other people, etc. And then start to look at how we support people to make connections with other people they may like to live with, and how that home might need to look to be established. It's very individualised. It's not a one sort of size fits all. And if at the end of the day we're not right, that's okay. We support people to find alternate services to start to connect with. But that's just a quick idea of basic flowchart of what we do. But again, feel free to make phone calls through to Focus, contact Mark, and we can start the process pretty quickly of looking at support needs. We have a client profile form template for collecting suitable information to cover off life domains. However, if you're already done a client profile for another organisation, we accept those too. The main thing is we want to understand what type of home, what is home for you, what are things around belonging and connection, etc., before we can really understand whether we're right organisation for you or not. But that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Edwina Menzies from Abbeyfield in Garran, and Chris up the back is also from Abbeyfield. We actually are a house that provides accommodation. We have accommodation for 10 people, which we've heard is not the done thing, but it actually works really well for our residents. Our residents are all pretty independent. It's not suitable for people that need a high level of care. They all have their own bed sitting room and ensuite, which they are responsible for cleaning and caring for. And we have a housekeeper who lives in a unit attached to the 10 bed sitting rooms. The housekeeper cooks an evening meal 5 nights a week. They all eat together. All our residents eat together at the same time. They don't all love each other, but they all have learned to get on well with each other. They are companions. I mean, a good illustration is we currently have a resident who's been in hospital because he's been unwell. All of the other residents have been down to visit him, entirely at their own choice. It's, we haven't suggested it, they've elected to do it. So they do need a little bit of help from time to time in some of the things that rub up against, but we see that as a positive thing for them to learn to live with other people. They all come and go as they please. They have their own keys, their own separate door if they want to use it. They all have their own support. So most of them have NDIS packages. They organise their own care if they need help with cleaning, if people take them out. They all organise that for themselves, or their families do. We help for those of them who don't have families to do that for them. And they help each other. They go out together sometimes as well. We're very careful about taking on new people because of the need for them to be reasonably compatible. They're not all the same, but if we do currently have a vacancy, and when there's a vacancy, we have a process where they have to have a familiarisation visit. They come and stay in the guest room for 3 or 4 weeks and see if they like it first. And the other residents see if they like them, to see if they're going to fit. So it's a fairly specific offering. It's for people who are reasonably independent, who want some level of assistance but not supervision. We don't supervise medication or any of that sort of level. So it's for reasonably independent individuals. And our residents, we do have a couple of residents who used to live in one-on-one accommodation, and they found that they got quite lonely, and I think they sometimes wish some of the other residents would disappear at times, but they do, they do all come for meals, they do all speak to each other, they watch TV programs together. They all had green sausages when the Raiders were in the final, and green bread. So we think that it works well, despite the fact that it's 10. In fact, the larger number seems to dissipate some of the one-on-one tensions. So if you want any more information about that, there's a number in the information pack. Thanks.
Hi everybody. My name is Anne Kerwin and I'm the CEO of Catholic Care. We've been providing services to people with a disability for over 30 years in the ACT. We're a registered community housing provider and we currently offer over 2,000 hours of support each week, in-home support and community access outreach support. And I'm here today to talk about 3 accommodation options that we offer. The first is supported independent living homes, so SILS. So Choices supports a number of households where individuals have supported independent living funding within their plan. Each household is supported to manage their home in different ways depending on their and their care network's preferences. Choices support workers assist with aspects of daily living, including grocery shopping, meal preparation, household tasks and personal care tasks. The property management of these homes can vary, with some being managed by the Catholic Care Housing Portfolio and others by other registered community housing providers. We currently have vacancies within our SIL homes. The next is our LINK program. So there are 3 networks across the ACT dispersed across suburbs which support 29 people with a disability to live independently with a housemate or on their own within a network of support. It's based on the UK keyring model. LINK aims to provide secure and sustainable housing and support individuals to connect with their neighbourhoods and the wider community to reduce isolation and reduce the reliance on formal supports. Individuals can choose to use the Catholic Care Choices for support, or they may work with another provider while they're part of that network. And sadly, we do not have any vacancies at the moment within the LINK programs. The last one is Aramac, which is a new option for men with psychosocial disability who may or may not also be in recovery from drug and alcohol condition. Residents have to be over the age of 18. It's a brand new unit complex of 8 times 2 bedroom apartments where the residents will share with one other person. Now, it doesn't require participants to have a SIL, but they do need to have an NDIS package and have core supports as part of that package. There is another 2 bedroom unit on site with a shared community space and a staff office, and staff are on site daily from 8 a.m till 7 p.m. Individual supports are available with day-to-day living tasks such as cooking, medication management, laundry, personal hygiene, maintaining home and tenancy, as well as access to a range of social and outdoor activities depending on what the residents prefer to do. So we currently have vacancies in our supported independent living homes and within Aramac. And I'll just get Cindy to stand up. That's Cindy there. She'll be available if anyone has any questions to come and talk. And we've just been circulating a little bit of a summary postcard about the services that we offer. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. This is beginning to feel like one of those Donald Trump 1970s Miss World competitions where we come up and say what we're thinking. So my name's Miss Paraguay and I hope one day to achieve world peace. My name is Dougie Herd. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Community Connections and My Choice, My Support, two services based in Canberra. Community Connections has been around for 21 years. I want to say very briefly, because I promised Claire I would take no more than 4 minutes, 59 seconds. We provide four kind of interesting, I hope, supports that are people that might be interested in them. We provide National Disability Insurance Scheme support coordination to about 200 people at the moment. If you want some more, come and see us. Plan management services through the NDIS, and both of those services obviously bring us into contact with participants, family members, and a whole range of support and housing providers. My Choice, My Support is a new independent, separate organisation that we're responsible for developing, and it provides self-directed support for NDIS participants who want to take control of their own support arrangements, support workers, and who are willing to do the rostering for themselves. They choose their own staff and they control all of that support. Those three projects have been on the go essentially since the NDIS came into Canberra. The main purpose and the beautiful slide which was created yesterday by our art department, or me as it's sometimes known, is about our home share project. Community Connections has run a home share project in the past. Today, this morning, I was there with Catholic Care this morning at the ministerial launch of a new set of grants that have been given. We've from, it's got a long name, Sustainable Development, Environment and Planning, although not necessarily in that order. We were given an 18-month, 19-month grant to reinvigorate our home share project. Home share's very simple. There are people with needs. They could be people with disability. They could be older people, particularly older women perhaps, who have households in which they may have a spare bedroom. They may look for support around the home, companionship, the security of having another person live with them who's not necessarily or at all a family member. There are other people who could be people with disability, women of all ages, men of any age, young people, but people who are looking for somewhere to live. And the home share is to try and put together those people who would like to have someone living with them, with someone who would like to have somewhere to live. We do the matching, arranging, the police checks. We have a coordinator who will oversee, or not oversee, that's the wrong word. That's my Scottish heritage coming out there. We have a coordinator who would be available to both the householder and the house sharer to iron out any kind of nuts and bolts problems, to get a service agreement signed, to check in periodically to see that there are no problems. So if you, any of your family, want to open up your home to somebody who might come and live in a companionable, present basis, not providing personal care, not providing medical intervention, but that other person in the home, then home share could be an option for you. Or if you know somebody who would like perhaps to be a sharer in somebody else's life for a while, contributing to their safety, security, companionship, but also either getting a reduced or no rent in return for a guaranteed minimum amount of presence in the life of that person who has the house, then you could also come and see us. Take the telephone number, email our project officer our project manager, who will be there from the 1st of December, Lee Harrison, hugely experienced because he was the home share manager who ran our successful 5-year project until 2018. Thank you for the indulgence.
Good afternoon, my name's Justin McDonald. I'm from Rumour. I'm a customer engagement manager. Not many people have heard of Rumour. We were formerly known as House with No Steps, and in Victoria the Tipping Foundation. So we recently rebranded to Rumour, and as I say, nobody knows who we are. We're one of Australia's largest accommodation providers. We have about 400 houses up and down the east coast. We have 10 across Canberra and Queanbeyan, soon to be 11. We do have a few vacancies, about 3 in some of our houses. They're similar to other people. Similar to other people or other organisations. Some of our houses are individuals by themselves, the 24-hour support. We have houses with 2 people, 3 people, 4 people. There is one with 5 people at the moment. And we do have some vacancies. There's one in Fadden, there's one in McGregor. And we've just gone into a partnership with some of the local social housing providers like CHC, who are building new SDA compliant properties in Canberra and McGregor, and we're providing the supports there, so there is some vacancy there too. So that's really me. Hopefully our number and our website are up there, but I'll be in the room later on. I'll just ask Erin McIntosh, who's one of our support managers for one of our properties. Erin and I will be available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Jan Kruger, Executive Director of Imagine More. We are not a provider, but what we are is an organisation that advocate for people with disability to get the good things in life, and one being finding a home of your own. So we've been running some peer network gatherings on a range of different topics, so inclusive education, on employment, self-managing NDIS, and on imagining home. So we actually ran our 4th one yesterday, and we zoomed in Gary, a man who has been helping some families to navigate the SDA space and how to go about, writing the report and the application. So it's basically what it's about is bringing people together, because it's the people on the ground that have the information, and to provide a space for people to share that information and strengthen the families that are trying to navigate all the acronyms, how to manage and navigate the NDIS, and how to get goals in your plan that then reflect the funding that you need to find a home of your own and imagine how you're going to actually live in your home, because it's not just about the bricks of mortar, is what we've been hearing today, but actually how you're going to live in your home, in your community, who you're going to live with, where you're going to live. They're really important conversations to have. So come along. We've got the next one happening on the 11th of December. That's if you don't have a clash with the Christmas party. But we'll have the Christmas cheer happening by then. But come along if you want to talk through anything that you've got burning, and we'll be running them all through next year as well. So finally, I just want to add that we're actually part of a national alliance. And with that national alliance, we managed to get an ILC grant. So another acronym that you need to know is Information Linkages and Capacity Building. It sort of sits beside the NDIS in building capacity of people to get the good things in life. And we got a grant on trying to pull together, we will pull together a website full of information on home. And within that, it will have many, many stories, because we know the power of stories for families to imagine what is possible is really important. We'll have podcasts and other resources that you can refer to. So keep posted on that one, and that will be rolling out next year. But take down our details, subscribe to our email list, and you'll get the updates on what's happening. So thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Michael Bleasdale. I am a director. I knew that was going to happen. I'm a director of Rights and Inclusion Australia, which is a very small disabled persons organisation, but it is across Australia. It has a small board of management. I said I'm one of the directors. Another director lives in Canberra, and that's Sue Salthouse, and she would have been here giving this talk, but she's in Perth at the moment. Anyway, similar to Doogie, who spoke a little bit earlier, we have today, it has been announced today by Yvette Berry, the Minister for Housing in the ACT, that we've been the beneficiary of a grant under the Affordable Housing Innovation Fund. We put in that grant to deliver what we actually came up with an idea this time last year after the forum. I'm not sure how many people here today were here last year, but there was a wealth of information provided last year. But one of the things that struck a number of us in the audience was how complex and how complicated it can be to put together the various component parts that need to be in place to match not just the accommodation support and the accommodation, but even creating the housing that some people might need in the community. So we hatched a plan at that point to basically address the issue of housing for people with disability in the ACT, and also to focus not just on participants of the NDIS, but also more broadly on the population of people with disability out there in the community. Because one thing that struck us was that there is a paucity of housing options, especially with housing with the kind of features that Penny was talking about there in the community. There's very little in the private sector, and it's very difficult to access. So, long story short, Rights and Inclusion Australia and National Disability Services, ACT, put in an application for a grant to establish this project, a very short-term project, and it is starting literally today. So there's not a lot of information that I can provide to you about it, other than the project officer, David Havercroft, is here with us today. Eventually, when he has a phone number, we will be able to put that up on our website. And one of the things that we want to do is to set up what we're calling the Housing Solutions Innovation Group. The method that we started off doing, we actually did have a go at this on a voluntary basis early on in the year when we held a forum at the Legislative Assembly where we had a visiting speaker, Joseph Conlon, who'd done some work, research work on putting SDA together and housing generally for people with disability. And he spoke to a range of advocacy organisations and disabled persons organisations around the sector, around the territory. And the purpose of that, the focus of that was really to upskill, provide information to those groups that we know people with disability and their families will go to when they have a need, such as housing. So the purpose of this really is not to be a one-stop shop for housing options, but to gather information, to share and to develop innovative ideas amongst the constituency that we have here in Canberra, and in the process of so doing, borrow, flagrantly copy very good ideas from interstate and international, bring people in to speak to us, to inspire us, and we really want to be making inroads into the housing sector. We want to be making partnerships with the support sector. And we also, where we see that there is critical need, we want to be having quite a lot to do with influencing policy so that we get the kind of housing we need, we get the kind of policies we need to put all this sort of stuff into place. So, as I said, it's day one. Next week, hopefully David will have a place to sit. He'll have a telephone number, and we'll start outreaching to the community here in Canberra. And hopefully next year, there'll be some events that we'll see many people at. Thank you.
All right, guys, I'm Leah. I'm from Rumour. I'm the New South Wales and ACT manager. I'm here and I'm with James and Charles. Please put your hands up. They didn't want to, so I thought I'd better. All right, so 53 years ago, in a little country town of Tumut, it was identified that someone needed to provide some supports to the disabled community. To meet this need, a local not-for-profit charity was developed, and since that day, Rumour has been consistently supporting people with disabilities to meet and achieve their goals. Guys, I'm not good at public speaking, so bear with me. 53 years is a really long time. I'm sure you're all aware. But during that time, so much has changed. As a company, we still base our operations locally in Tumut, but we've extended a variety of services across multiple regions, including Yass, Goulburn, Queanbeyan, Gundagai, Tumbarumba, and since the NDIS rolled out, we've also extended our services into the ACT, where we now share a building with the MS Society in Deakin. Rumour has become an experienced organisation that has grown to meet the individual and varying needs of service users, but we've remained at a manageable and viable size to ensure the services delivered are of excellent quality. So although we deliver lots of different services across a really wide range of clients, approximately 50% of what we do is in accommodation support. We currently have almost 40 group homes, nearly half of which are in Canberra and the Queanbeyan region. Each house is run by a coordinator or team leader who is required to complete hands-on shifts as well as their admin duties, creating a professional relationship with each individual client and the client support team being supervised by an experienced coordinator who actually knows the clients in their care. Each of Rumour's house coordinators are further supported by a qualified and experienced manager in charge of 8 to 10 houses. That's the people that you guys are going to be talking to, hopefully. Rumour holds a commitment to never use agency staff, and we aim to have a stable, permanent and experienced support team in every house. That's not to dismiss our casuals, but we do keep our usage of casuals to a minimum. All of our accommodation residents and teams are supported by a strong and diverse team of specialists behind the scenes. These include the Rumour behavioural specialist, the HR specialists, IT support, finance and payroll specialists, fleet and property management, and of course our NDIS specialists, all who are based across Tumut, Yass, Canberra and Queanbeyan. So a particular strength of our houses is that each individual house is designed around the clients needing the supports with a variety of scenarios around the accommodation agreements. Some properties we own, some the residents own, some we jointly own with residents, some we rent. Many of the residents rent directly from Housing ACT. So a number of our houses suit people with mobility issues and wheelchairs, but not a single group house has been purely designed for a physical disability. As a company, we try to create a balanced household by placing people who know each other well together, rather than grouping people together by disability to suit the accommodation. Rumour provides drop-in support, mainly in the New South Wales region, but there has been a recent increase in need across the ACT area. We provide vehicles, a good second-hand fit-for-purpose vehicle for each and every house. The guys use it pretty much as their own vehicles. Short routine bread and butter trips are free to residents, but longer trips are paid for by the NDIS travel in people's plans or by the residents themselves. We aim to maximise residents' transportability, not to maximise our income from transport. Myself and my colleagues will be available later on throughout the break, but I just wanted to leave you all with this thought. Rumour may best be defined by what we don't do. We don't do flashy marketing, no PowerPoint. We don't overpromise and we don't underdeliver. We don't do fundraising as it feels it sends a contradictory message about the clients we support. We don't use agency staff. We don't push to use casuals in lieu of our permanent staff. We don't outsource the support systems we need. We don't have one fixed model of house configuration or ownership, and we don't buy brand new vehicles. But most of all, we don't think we know all the answers. And Valmar continually strives to learn and improve and always ensure that we ask what the people we support want, hear what they are saying, and be willing and able to act on this. Thank you.
So it's me again, Michael. It's going to happen. Right. In my day job, I'm the CEO of Atticus Advocacy. So we have been providing advocacy to people with disability, people with mental ill health, and older people and carers throughout the territory and also down the south coast of New South Wales for close to 30 years now. I'm relatively new in the position, so a lot of what I'm speaking about, what we've done, has been done before my time. I just wanted to bring the conversation back to rights again. Jan spoke earlier on about some of the work that we need to be doing to build the capacity and agency of people to become active choice makers around choosing housing and also making a home. And I think some of the things that we do in our advocacy, a lot of our advocacy matters are around housing. Some of them are fairly mundane housing matters, but I wanted to just focus on three things, if I may, and it probably won't even take the 5 minutes. I wanted to just point out that a lot of advocacy work went in over the past 2.5 years, almost 3, to actually take on board the issues of a small group of young people who had very significant health conditions as well as complex disability, who had for whom there was no housing options. And the initial part of that project was to look into housing options, to negotiate with the NDIS, to basically see if it was possible to find any options for them around Canberra. None were available. And I won't go to it chapter and verse, but the end product of this has been, after, as I said, 2.5 to 3 years' work, putting together relationships between funders, builders, developers, the government in terms of release of land, financiers, negotiating with financiers during the Banking Royal Commission when suddenly there was risk and all sorts of things put up there as barriers. The end product of this is the development of this house, which is actually far more progressed than that photograph indicates. Hopefully that will be opening in February, and there will be 4 people moving out of long-term hospital or nursing care. The sad part of the story is that, unfortunately, a number of the people who were originally we were trying to find accommodation for have passed away. It really is, and that's why I've used a chronic undersupply of housing stock in this territory. It's actually, I think, quite disgraceful given that we are the capital of Australia. But there is an upside to this, and I think focusing on the rights of people not to live in these kinds of situations has sort of driven the work that we did there to create something like that, which I'm very proud of. And then I want to focus on a couple of things that we're seeing, again, issues that are coming up, and this is stuff that's happening within the NDIS, and I think it's just a note of caution there. We've got to be really mindful of the rights of people. It's all very well, we've got to find the right housing solutions, we've got to find the right support arrangements, but we've got to focus on people's rights. People with disability have long been in situations where their rights as tenants have been denied, and this is still happening. We're still coming up with instances of people who are being evicted from their shared or group homes because sometimes it's around behaviours and the provider is unable to support those behaviours. Now, there's a variety of things that can be done in those cases, but the point that I want to make is that it should not be the responsibility then of the person with disability to leave those premises. We seem to have been moving away from something that we fought long and hard for very many years to give people with disability their rights to tenancy, which means that, you know, there's a tenancy agreement in place, and we're actually challenging some of these in ACAT. And the final point I want to make is around SIL and other arrangements. We need to be really considerate about real choice and control and individualised preferences in shared housing. There shouldn't be a requirement for you to have only one provider that's available in one house, especially if that relationship is breaking down. Again, based on the principle that the person should not have to move out of their home. The NDIS, to my mind, is all about enabling person to have a choice of providers. So we need to be continuing to put some pressure on the NDIS to make sure that the arrangements that are put in place for people in shared housing offers them that choice of providers. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Merriman from the Summer Foundation, if the slide comes up. The Summer Foundation has been around since 2006, and in plain simple English, their main aim is to keep young adults with a disability out of residential aged care nursing homes. In 2017, our sister organisation Summer Housing was born. They are an SDA provider. I work for Summer Foundation, and my role is a tenancy matching service. My first project in the ACT is the Dusk Apartments in Belconnen, which I have flyers for if anyone is interested. These are for people with high physical support needs. So they need to have an NDIS package, they will be wheelchair users, they require a minimum of 1-to-1 6 hours support per day, up to 24 hours support per day. And they need the requirements of a modified home, kitchen, bathroom, everything's modified, the bells and whistles of smart technology. If you know of anyone who would be interested in this, please let me know. This is a 10+1 model. There are 10 apartments peppered throughout the apartment complex. The 11th apartment is providing the 24/7 on-site support. So, for example, if the person has their own support worker in their own apartment, but they require someone else, they might require 2 people to transfer, they can call on that 11th apartment instead of paying for an extra person to come where there may be a minimum of 2 or 3 hours that they actually need to pay that second person. That's just an example of what that would look like. I also have the same model of apartments that are being built right now. As you leave the Hellenic Club, you will see them outside. They are the Grand Central Towers. Same 10+1 model, high physical support. But in between those 2 projects that I have, I'm very excited to say we have been funded for me to collect the data on those people who are not high physical support or require a different type of SDA that could be robust, improved livability or fully accessible. They're the different SDA design categories. We do not have dwellings as yet in these categories, but I am collecting the data. So, for example, last week I met with a young gentleman who's in his 20s who is very keen to move out of home. He requires 24/7 support and he's ready to go. But unfortunately we don't have a dwelling, but he was very happy to meet with me, and his family met with me and the support coordinator, and we did together what we've called our housing preference tool. This outlines their needs, their desires, their wishes, their goals, so that we can then go to SDA providers and say, this is what people are after. In terms of SDA, if people don't know, I'm sorry if you do, but very quickly I'll explain. SDA, Specialist Disability Accommodation, you require an extreme functional impairment in 2 of 3 domains: mobility, self-care and self-management. So, for example, people with high physical support needs for the Belconnen apartments and the Woden apartments, they have an extreme functional impairment in mobility. They also have an extreme functional impairment in one of the 2 domains. For the gentleman I met last week, he's ambulance, so he does not have an extreme functional impairment in mobility, but he does in self-care and he does in self-management. He will be eligible for SDA. Now, I know this is all very new in the ACT, but these dwellings are working interstate. We have Summer Housing have 300 dwellings, Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria. We also are going to start in WA next year, and hopefully the other areas of Australia as well in the years to come. We also have other SDA providers that we liaise with, not just summer housing. We have a team of staff at Summer Foundation who work together to find SDA providers who are on the same page as our vision. Not in it for the money, they're ethically and morally on the same page. So we're hoping those SDA providers will come in here to the ACT and build, especially in those robust, improved livability and fully accessible design categories. If anyone has any questions, please, my name, email address and phone number are on the screen. I live and work here in the ACT, even though my business card has Melbourne on it. Please, I am here. And I do not come out of someone's NDIS package. So I can go to someone as many times as need be. An example of that is one of my applicants, severe high physical support needs, also has absolutely no speech. But together, after 5 sessions with her, I helped her fill in the application form. She was adamant she did it herself. And I'm very proud to say that I am presenting all my applicants next week in Melbourne, and I hope to be making very exciting phone calls the next week with very positive outcomes. I'm here to explain to people as well how to get SDA in their NDIS plans. It is not a walk in the park, I'm sure you're all aware of that. But if it's happening interstate and Summer Foundation have had success with that, I'm sure I can make the same things happen here in the ACT. Thank you.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Erin Verburn. I'm from the Disability Trust. I'm here with my colleagues Teresa and Louise. So come say hi to us afterwards if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about this. So the Disability Trust is a registered NDIS service provider. We provide a wide range of services in the ACT. So we do in-home supports, we have social groups, day programs, but we also provide 3 main things that are related to having a home. So we have 2 short-term accommodation respite houses, one for our under 18s, so our 12 to 17-year-olds, and another one that caters for our over 18 participants. So those short-term accommodation houses are places that people can come and stay for 1 night to 14 nights and kind of try out what it's like to spend time out of home. Our second option is that we have our semi-residential capacity building program, which is called the Launchpad. So what that is it is a program where people will come and spend some time in our short-term accommodation facilities. And at the start of that, we do an assessment with the person to try to work out what are some of the daily living skills that they might need to develop before they move out of home. And we can then work on that with them throughout the program. And at the end, we can help them write a report that they can take on to other providers or to the NDIA to identify what they might need to focus on before moving out of home. And finally, we also have a number of supported independent living models. So we currently have, I think, 12 houses in the ACT, and those have a really wide variety of support. So we have houses that have 1 person, up to 4 people is our largest one. Some of those people range from having kind of 1 to 3 models of care. Some people require 2 to 1 support. It's really varied and obviously very dependent on the people that are in those houses. Our SIL houses are set up so that there is a team leader who is responsible for that house. Generally, they will be based across 2 houses, so they'll be there every second day. They'll do a variety of on-the-floor shifts as well as the administration for that house. We do have some current vacancies in our SIL homes across the ACT. The way that people can apply for those homes is to get in contact with us through our website or our calling our office. And what we do is we take you through a process and get some ideas about what the person is like, you know, what do you like to do, you know, are you someone who wants to sit in front of the TV, and do we have another person who wants to sit in front of the TV? Do you like to watch the same things, or is that not going to work? And really try to work out, are these people going to be compatible with each other? And what we like to do then is have quite a graduated move-in process, if that's what the person wants, and maybe start out with some house visits, some dinners, maybe working up to spending a night or 2 there, and just see how that process goes. So we definitely like to focus on the training for all of our staff. We have a high focus on active support and also on continual personal development for our staff. So moving away from just the service skills, the medication training, the manual handling, those sorts of things. And we're starting to offer our staff things like professional communication and how to be a key worker and understanding the NDIS and those sorts of additional things, so that our staff are, you know, working towards the same goals that we as office staff and participants and families are all moving towards. So yes, we're here. If you would like to come talk to us, please feel free and we can give you any more information. Thank you.